Hi, and welcome to the Addiction Roadshow webinar. My name is Jatinder and I'll be your host for the next 15-20 minutes or so. In today's webinar, we'll be talking with addiction consultant Ian Young of Sober Services, who will shed some light about the topic of addiction with drugs and alcohol, as well as why the Addiction Roadshow can help serve the families and friends of addicts. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, thanks, Jatinder. Thanks for having me here. I'm delighted to be able to spend a few minutes with you guys and tell you what's going on in my mind, and whatever questions that come up, I'll be able to free flow and answer them pretty directly.
Thank you. So, Ian, I want to get straight into it, and because I want to help as many people as possible. So, firstly, would you be kind enough to let us know a bit about yourself and what is it that you do?
Okay, so I am an addiction consultant. I've been working in the field of addiction since 2001. I have my own experiences as a recovered addict and alcoholic. I was a chronic drinker during the 90s and 80s, and I used a hell of a lot of drugs to complement my drinking. But since I've been sober since 2001, so I'm in my 14th year at the moment, I've had an amazing experience of what life can give me while I'm in recovery. And as a result of experiencing so many benefits in all areas of my life, in all aspects of my existence, and the way that I interact with the other people and the rest of the world, I felt so driven towards working in this industry that I've spent many years working with families in particular, and addicts and alcoholics. I've got a history of building rehabs back in the day, and since 2008 I've been running Sober Services, which is a kind of more of a one-on-one facility where we go in and really bring about the necessary change in people, or we signpost them to wherever they might be. But what I'm best known for is my work as an interventionist, where the family generally the family will give me a call and they'll say, I need some help with my son, my daughter, my wife, my husband, my father, my cousin, my uncle, whoever it is, who is drinking too much or drugging too much and doesn't want to admit it or doesn't want to stop. And that's where they give me a call, and I come in and I work my processes to bring about change and willingness in the addict or the alcoholic. So I prepare them and get them ready to accept the help that we're trying to give them, and then I deliver the help. So that's really what I'm best known for as an interventionist. And there's very few people that do this outside of North America. I'm trained by some North Americans in this, and it's an art that's only really 15, 20 years old in the US and only a few years old in the UK. So I'm pioneering intervention services. And I guess that ties in with my passion about talking with the whole family about the addict and the alcoholic. I've always found that that for an addict to have a successful recovery, or an alcoholic to successfully recover, they do need the support of the family around them, be that just their wives or their parents or whoever it is. In order to successfully recover, a family unit is normally really useful. So I work with the families a lot.
So, Ian, as you know, the Addiction Roadshow idea came about from a brainstorming session we had with a colleague a little while ago. So, to create awareness, let's talk a bit about that for the moment.
Sure.
What was it about the Addiction Roadshow idea that drew you in, and how is it that you feel that you can help?
Yeah, it's a great idea, and it's a novel idea. No one else is doing this. I don't know anyone else that's doing this with any kind of results-driven formula. Traditionally, sort of rehabs have tried to put on networking events for therapists and stuff like that. But what's different about the Addiction Roadshow is it's aimed directly at the families and the parents and the husbands and the wives and the people that really care for the addict alcoholic. So it's aimed at the people that are actually suffering and struggling, either those in addiction themselves or their extended family. And by educating these types of people, we can bring about real change. And I believe that the Roadshow's ambition of going on tour in a different county every month is ambitious enough that it's actually going to make a difference to the awareness and the dissolution of stigma that's attached to addiction in the UK. I believe that it can make such a difference that that we can see a real battle that we start to certainly win in many hundreds, if not thousands, of families over the next couple of years. So I'm honoured to be invited to participate in it. I'm excited by the ambitions of what the Roadshow wants to set out to do and help heal thousands of families. I think that's so noble. And so to be considered the consultant to the board of the Addiction Roadshow as your addiction specialist, you know, for me, it's perfect. It's ambitious, but it's in the spirit of service and in the spirit of healing people from addiction. So I'm on board, and I have been since you first started talking to me about the idea.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, because of your background and that the fact that you're an addiction specialist is key to what we're trying to achieve here. We'll talk a bit more about the kind of family element of the Roadshow in a bit. But before we do that, I thought it might be good to just cover the kind of basics so that the listeners can get an idea of a bit more about what's going to be happening at the Addiction Roadshow. So, I mean, one of the first questions would be, you know, quite simply, I mean, what is addiction?
Well, at the Addiction Roadshow, there'll be a specialist who will be explaining precisely what addiction is, breaking it down, explaining why it is that people can make solemn oaths not to drink again, or make a real promise not to use cocaine or drugs, or really sincerely mean it, and yet be unable to uphold those promises within a matter of hours. And it's not that they're doing it to be deceitful, it's that they've simply lost control over the ability to choose not to do it in the first place. And one of the factors of addiction is that once you've lost the power to choose not to do it in the first place, what personifies addiction is that those same people will also have lost the ability to control what they're doing when they start. So when they start drinking, they can't stop. And when they stop, they can't stop themselves from starting again. No matter how much they want to, they find themselves trapped in a thought process, in an obsession, in a compulsion, and they're unable to actually arrest their addiction, despite the fact that they may want to. So you'll be hearing some of the facts about addiction in there from the addiction specialist. Going further into the more details, is there a genetic link? Is it nature versus nurture? We'll be hearing about the mental obsession and the physical compulsion, and to a fair degree, the spiritual illness, where people become absolutely selfish and self-centered, greedy, arrogant, hurtful, and hateful as a result of their addiction. We'll be going into all the things that make up why someone or what is an addiction in greater depth. And I believe that there's going to be a lot of information there that people are going to be either nodding at or going, "Oh, I never knew that." So it'll be a very thought-provoking topic. And the structure of the day is that there'll be a second part, which is what is recovery, which I think is absolutely valid. If we're going to talk about what addiction is, we need to talk about what recovery is and how that looks like. And a different speaker is going to be talking about her understanding of what recovery means. And when I talk about recovery, I'm talking about an abstinence-based recovery, where the internal feelings that we get to experience are even more sincere and more profound than the ones that we would be receiving if we were drinking or drugging. Recovery has to be much more fun and make us feel considerably better than drugs or alcohol do. And so we'll be talking about what it is that constitutes a genuine recovery that gives people a quality of life that's beyond their wildest dreams.
And then alongside that, we'll also be helping with solutions to the addictions as well.
Yeah, and then I'm going to come on and I'm going to explain some of the solutions, how we can tap into this message that we've delivered. Those of you that are in a place where you need some help with your addictions, those people that are looking for solutions for a loved one or for themselves even, I'm going to be explaining some of the strategies and the solutions that we can do to move this forward so that you or your loved one can get the help that you need.
Right. I suppose one of the other things, I mean, there could be loads of families who are not sure whether someone in their family is actually an addict, and in those kind of situations, I mean, what kind of things? How can you spot it? Basically, how can you spot that there might be some sort of addiction going on?
Well, I need to really sit down with that family themselves. But my experience is that if someone is concerned that someone has an addiction, 9.5 times out of 10, they really do have an addiction. And in fact, I'd go the other way, and I'd probably say that 90% of people with an addiction are undiagnosed, either by themselves or others. So there's a lot of hidden addiction that isn't known about, where people adopt a lifestyle and they accept it as reality without questioning the fact that it could be, something that we can heal from. So if someone is not sure, then this is the right place to find out. And if someone is sure, then this is the right place to get the solutions. But everybody who's there will get an opportunity to ask questions to the panel, or if they want to speak to someone privately, there'll be opportunities to speak to someone privately and get some bespoke advice, and we can move that forwards for you.
So, Ian, for people who may be feeling that this is something that they cannot talk about openly or freely, or might be shy or even embarrassed because they don't know what's out there to help and things like that, what would you say to them? What would you say to those families that are feeling that they can't speak to anyone, or they are shy, or even feeling ashamed that someone in the family may be addicted? What can we do to help them as well?
Yeah, certainly there has in the past been a lot of stigma attached by families upon themselves in the event that someone they love or care about has an addiction. And I want to start removing those barriers a bit quicker than the pace that they have been getting removed. Addiction affects everybody from any class, any background, any gender, any sexual orientation, any religion, any age. It's a equal opportunities illness. It affects everybody from all backgrounds. So that whole idea that, oh, look what's happened to me and my family, is becoming more and more of a myth, because it happens to so many families. And I believe that today, in today's kind of culture or society, accepting that you have an addict or an alcoholic living amongst you is no longer such a big kind of guilt, feeling of shame or guilt. And actually the attitudes have shifted considerably to ones of let's see what help we can give them, rather than let's see how we can hide them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I encourage people to accept that they may have a challenge and to come out in the open about it and seek the help that is available to them, rather than trying to hide or bury the problem and just hoping for something to happen. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's make some changes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to also assure the listeners that, the event that we're organizing is going to be a private and a safe event. So, anything that they talk about or with whoever there on the day, it's going to be private anyway.
Yeah, the thing to realise is all the people that are in the room at the Addiction Roadshow are all experiencing the same challenges of someone that they love or themselves having an addiction problem. So everyone is going to be in the same boat. But the point is that no one is going to start saying, oh, do you know who I saw at the Addiction Roadshow? Everybody's going to be very supportive of one another and is going to be very respectful of each other's confidentiality, obviously. But there's the opportunity to discuss any of your concerns privately, either with one of the therapists who will be present, or you'll be able to book an appointment afterwards to speak to me or someone from my team. So we're there to help.
Ian, so we've got some questions coming in. Are you okay to take some questions now?
Yeah, let's do a few.
Okay, so the first question we go through, again, I'm just going to keep the names private because that's what we're all about here as well. The first question that's come through is, are you coming to my hometown?
Well, we expect to go on a tour of as many counties as possible. So I may not be coming to your specific town, but we do intend to get to your county at some point. It might be a couple of years off, but we are going to spread ourselves out. I believe we've got 11 or 12 different road shows in 2015, and that number is then going to increase to every fortnight or so. So there'll be about 24, 25 in 2016. So sooner or later we will get close to you. But I suspect that if you want to get to a road show sooner than that, that you are going to have to travel. But that's okay.
All right, thanks. Got another question coming through. Says, how do your services work? Are your services free? So,
well, the Addiction Roadshow has been designed as a low-cost experience. So I think the tickets are £20 per person, or you can get 2 tickets for 30 quid, 20 for one and 30 for two. So you can bring like your husband or your wife or whoever. And we've tried to keep the cost down as much as possible. I know that there's a fair amount of sponsorship behind the scenes. So there's a couple of brands that are throwing some money down in order to help promote this goodwill of the cause. As you go through the system, I mean, this is private healthcare, so there is going to be a cost. If anyone needs to access rehab, they're going to need to pay for rehab. Now, rehab comes in many different shapes and sizes and different prices and different degrees of luxury and all types of factors to put in there. So, don't worry if you feel that you're on a small budget, but we'll try and find the right one for you. And in many cases, rehab isn't going to be what's needed. It might just be a case of picking up a sober workbook or getting yourself a therapist or something to work through. So there's lots of different solutions, lots of different opportunities to work with someone and get the help that you need, whether that's a full-blown detox or whether that's just talking to someone once or twice a month. There's a whole spectrum of solutions and a whole spectrum of different prices. We're not trying to be exclusively available only to people with a certain amount of budget. We are trying to make this available to as many people as possible. And I think that by having a sponsorship behind us, we're able to reduce a lot of those costs.
Yeah, and certainly on the day we'll be able to help everybody with any of the questions to get more information on that. I got another question coming through, Ian. Which, they're saying, are you able to help people with gambling problems?
Yes, there's plenty of treatment available for gambling addicts as well as alcoholics and drug addicts and overeaters, undereaters, anorexics, bulimics, a whole host of other process addictions like sex addiction, love addiction, or the addiction to helping people, codependency. There's a whole load of stuff that the Addiction Roadshow could signpost people to. So whatever the condition that you seem to be stuck with or your loved one is suffering from, it's more likely than not that the Addiction Roadshow will be able to find a solution for that person.
Right, okay. I think we've got time for one more question, okay. And that question is, do I have to wait for the roadshow or can I access help now?
Well, by all means, you can contact the Roadshow and say that you're looking for some help right now, and you can probably book yourself some private time with one of the consultants if that's how you want to move. The Addiction Roadshow obviously is a roadshow, but it has access to people that can help you no matter what time of the year it is. So by all means, if you want to get some help right here, right now, then contact the Addiction Roadshow with a message and type in, explain what your situation is, and they'll get someone to get in touch with you.
Okay, Ian, I think I know you've got to get on with stuff as well.
Yeah, I do just want to say one more thing. I'd like to add one more thing, and that is the Addiction Roadshow may or may not be the sort of thing that you want to go to yourself. But please, if you have someone that you care about that is suffering or struggling, give them the details and get them to turn up or to buy a ticket. Get them to get in touch with us. Let's not let people slip through the system. Let's spread the word. The Addiction Roadshow is on a mission to help thousands of families to find a solution for the problem of addiction for people that they love and care about. So if there's someone that you love or care about, a neighbour, someone that you see down the street, someone, a cousin or whatever it is, please give them our website and tell them to get in touch.
Right. All right, Ian, thank you very much. I mean, that's been very useful. There's been some interesting things there and some new learnings as well. for the listeners, I mean, if you've got any more questions, feel free to leave them in the box below, or drop us an email at office@addictionroadshow.co.uk. And any final words, Ian, before we close off?
Yeah, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's make some change.
Wow, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Ian, and I hope this has been useful for everyone. And I look forward to meeting you and seeing you all at one of the Addiction Roadshows soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.